Hi everybody, it's Cindy at Little House Homestead, and today I want to approach something that I saw last night. I saw it on the news. I watch excuse me, a multitude of different news sources, and I came across this, and then I googled it, and sure enough, it's what's happening. I don't normally tell you guys much about my personal politics or other personal things in my life. I generally show what I'm doing or things of that nature, but today I actually have to cross that boundary because what I saw last night was so disgusting and so harmful to my community that I need to say something. I actually have tried to tape this about 4 times now, and I actually had to write it down because I got so livid that I couldn't hardly speak. So if it looks like I'm reading off some papers, I am, because it's keeping me on track so I don't spin into anger. My thoughts on this are that we should do no harm to children. I'm probably going to receive strikes for this. Follow me on Rumble if I disappear for a minute. Don't be shocked. There's one thing in this world that I cannot stand in any way, shape, or form, and that's harming children. One look at the world today, and I'm having a hard time because this really is very serious to me. One look at the world today, and you will see that there is a war going on against our children. I'm proudly a member of Gays Against Groomers, LGB Alliance, and LGB without the T. Yes, I am a lesbian and I am fine with it. I'm Christian, I'm conservative, and what my politics or orientation have to do with homesteading or prepping, they don't. So that's why I don't talk about them, because it's absolutely not involved in it. But because I'm a member of these groups are considered hate groups in the United States and the UK for fighting for our children, to keep this crazy political agenda away from our children. I'm also part of another group called Right-Sided Lesbians that do amazing work with getting the message out there that not all of us are crazy weirdo liberals that want to destroy your children, because we're not. As we have seen, kids today are being indoctrinated to not know what gender they are, or to believe that they are the opposite gender from what they are born as. They are told they can identify as whichever they want, neither, both, as frogs, cats, or cake. I heard about cake gender. I can't even keep up with all of this stuff, and I choose not to. And kids are confused by this, but adults are putting this fantasy onto them and telling them that it's real, and it's not. And we're having very confused children because of this. Some little girls are tomboys. That's just the way it is. Some boys like books or sewing. My uncle was one of the best with a sewing machine that I have ever seen, and you would not accuse him of being a girly girl. Not a chance. Some outgrow it. Others don't. Some just have hobbies that are non-traditional for their gender. But we have to let these kids go through life and decide for themselves what they are. That's life. That's how we all grew up, and that worked out for all of us. Now teachers and parents, with the delusions that their kid is a part of the 0.01% of the population that is actually transgender, go ahead and start medications on their kids, and and go into all this pronoun thing and just really mess up their kids' minds. That's not okay. And the schools reinforce it. Keep this in mind. The schools are catering to 0.01% of the population. That means 99.9% of the population does not have these issues, but they're being told that they do, and they are being bullied and shamed if they say they don't have these issues. What does that do to a child's mental health to be bullied into something? Thank God this stuff wasn't around when I was a kid. I was a nurse before I was a correctional officer for a very long time. And I actually did hand out and administer gender-changing medications. It was part of my job. I didn't have a choice. That's what they wanted. That's what they got. However, in order to get on the hormones, they were required to have 2 years of therapy prior to starting the medications. Then they had to be on the medications for 5 years before we could even get into considering them for life-changing surgeries that would alter them forever. When we started them on these medication therapies, we had to tell them that it would cause sterility, bone density loss, mental health issues, depression, voice changes, hair loss or growth, and that their body perception may not change, and that a lot of these changes are permanent. But what are we telling our kids now? Oh, it'll just pause puberty. No, it won't. It's a flat out lie that it'll just pause puberty. If a child, let's take a little boy for example, a little boy goes through his gender affirming care, I think they call it now. He gets on his hormones, and now he's a 20-year-old who says, you know what, I was just confused. I want to go back. So he stops taking the hormones and he thinks he's going to now go into puberty, and he doesn't. This is a man who will now live with a more effeminate body build, muscle tone, and his testicles will not develop properly. Holy cow. Also, during puberty, boys grow a bit, and an adult man with a micro penis is going to have mental health issues because that will not change. That's not going to catch up with his body because he stopped that. And he's probably never going to have children because he's most likely sterile from the medications. Little girls, we are putting them on these hormones. They're growing facial hair, their bone structure thickens in their face, their voices drop. And then they go in at 15, 16, 17 years old, and we're giving them top surgery with no therapy. Why are we not giving any of these kids therapy beforehand? It just boggles the mind because we're just doing what these kids want because their teachers have told them they want this. Society has told them that they want this. Everybody says, oh, this is what you want. No, they're confused. They don't know what they want. Let them figure it out. These little girls will grow up and they now have no breasts. They cannot nurse a child. They've had hysterectomies. They can't even carry a child. They're sterile. And they regret it. I mean, you've seen dozens of videos where these young ladies and young men are wanting to go back, and nobody told them that these consequences were permanent. Hey, so if we're lying to these people, why are we doing this to them? What are we doing to them? It's harming them beyond anything you can imagine. I'm not sure if that's thunder or if there's a truck out on the road. So now we've got the schools indoctrinating our children. We've got the media telling them that they can go ahead and do this. We've got everybody telling these kids, no, you're not confused. You're just the other gender. We're erasing women because we've got all of these transgender men that are in women's sports instead of a separate division. Make a transgender division. I'm cool with that. Let them all compete against each other. But they don't belong in women's sports. You're erasing women. And you're saying that men are better women than women, which my brain doesn't wrap around that. And it goes the other way too. These women that become men, they can never compete on the same level as a biological male. So they're losing. And so they end up dropping out of whatever sport they were enjoying. Schools and media are causing more damage than anything out there today. If it was about inclusion, we would say, well, you know, little Johnny has 2 moms, and that's okay. Or little Sarah has 2 dads, and that's okay. Or little Mikey over here has a mom and a dad, and that's okay. So it's not about inclusion, it's about altering our children. We end up with children that grow up and become broken and dependent adults because they don't know how to be, because they didn't get to go through a normal childhood. Any performer in drag will tell you, don't bring your children. It is not child appropriate. Most of them are 18 and older to go in. So if your church is doing it, if you see it at a bar, oh, we're family inclusive. No, they're not. Anyone who is a drag person and is telling you this is child appropriate, they're a groomer. And that's where I'm going to get my ban. But that's the way it is. Someone who legitimately wants to do that because they enjoy it, they're not going to tell you to bring your children. But here's the thing, Canada, and I saw it on the Canadian news, and then I Googled it and looked it up and saw it on several different news sites. Even Tucker Carlson did something on it. Canada said, well, you know what, America, hold my beer. Sorry, I've got this lingering cough. Canada is now allowing children, minors, to be euthanized without their parents' consent. And one of the things that they can be euthanized for is depression. I've seen this happen with the Dutch, and I can't remember if it was Finland or Sweden or somewhere over there also has allowed this to happen. So now we're breaking our children, and then we're killing our children. Literally, children are allowed to do this without their parents' consent. As far as I can remember, and I'm breaking this down to the simplest way, the Hippocratic Oath says do no harm or no further harm and save lives when possible. How is breaking a child to the point that they are severely depressed and can't go on with life and then letting them kill themselves doing no harm? Get your kids out of schools, get them off the TV. If you have to get 5 families together and each of you take a day and do homeschooling on your days off, kids don't care what day they go to school as long as they get free time. But get your kids out of the school systems. Do whatever it takes to protect your child or children from this ideology that is going on. Because it's harming our children in ways that we can't repair. Our job as parents is to protect and love our children. You cannot tell me that changing your child, maybe not because they want to, but because they want your approval, or they want society's approval, or they want the school's approval, is good for them. That's not okay. Let kids be kids. Let them go out and play. Let them, if they want to play with dolls or Tonkas, I don't care. Just let them play. Protect the children, because what's next? I mean, how long? I mean, I read one article, it said that this was the Hunger Games for Darwinism. And that's incredibly scary, because now we are letting governments say that it is okay for our child to be killed because our child wants it done. How many kids say, oh, today I want to be a chocolate cake, and tomorrow I want to be a princess, and tomorrow I want to be a cowboy? That's kids. They change their minds. Death is permanent. Yet we're letting children who aren't allowed to drink, they aren't allowed to drive, they're not allowed to vote, they're not allowed to run businesses. I mean, we're talking major life. They can't go get married, but we're going to let them make a life and death decision because they're sad. And this was actually in one of the articles I read, was that profound sadness in a child was a reason a child could do this without their parents' consent. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. We're here to let you know that little Timmy decided that he didn't want to live anymore. Don't get that knock on your door. Take care of your kids. Love your kids. Tell them they're worth it. Show them that you value them. And let them decide what they want on their own. Because this is something that is just beyond the pale insane. So, if I'm not here for a little bit, you know why. But I hope that you all understand the message on this, and I hope that it moves you to do something to help protect kids. I mean, I go out and I do things to protect kids. I just don't take y'all with me. But get out there and be advocates for children. Even if you're just a grandparent. I'm only a grandparent anymore. Protect them. I don't care whose kid they are. Protect them. Don't let them end up killing themselves because they don't know how to cope with the world because no one taught them. I will see you later this week. We've got a couple projects that I'm going to be doing with y'all, and I will see y'all later.